Next up, we have Mr. Stephen Mustafa from Amazon Web Services UAE with a keynote presentation on AWS Hybrid Cloud. Now, Stephen is a senior partner solutions architect for the MENA region. Over to you, Stephen. You have the next 15 minutes.
Thank you, Shalini. So if I just can figure out how to share. So good morning, everyone. Like as introduced, thank you. My name is Stephen Mustafa. I'm the Senior Partner Solutions Architect for the MENA region. And today we'll be talking about hybrid clouds with AWS, right? So again, in the same commentary, it's a very, very broad subject. We're barely looking at the surface, much less scratching it. 15 minutes is a very limited amount of time. So with that, without further ado, when it comes to AWS really tries as much as possible to actually take a broad perspective of what's available for the benefit of the customer, okay? And so on, this is actually a fairly complicated slide, and it actually touches on a lot of interests and where AWS is trying to focus here because of customer demand. North of 90% of any any introduction of services and development of roadmaps on the services by AWS is coming directly from the customer. This is probably the most difficult slide I had to put up, because trying to fit in 200 plus services on one slide is a bit of an eyesore. This is a bit of an eye exam. But suffice it to say, as a result, across the years and doing all this, AWS is the cloud that provides you the greatest breadth and depth of services. And individually for each service, you actually have more functionality per service. And honestly, in some cases, you have a full stack of services available to you, from something that's already consumable by developers themselves, all the way down to the infrastructure components that require people with a very solid working knowledge and probably a very strong academic background as well to start building those tools. It's as a result of this that really AWS has become the leader on the Gartner Quadrant for 10 consecutive years. AWS is also a global organization, okay, and as such, we do have 24 global geographic regions. Actually, it's 25 recently. And the closest one, the GCC, happens to be in Bahrain. But suffice it to say, with this, we have multiple availability zones and more than 200 points of presence all around the world. It makes it so much easier for you to start reaching out into your own markets, into your own clientele requirements, and being able to determine what it is that you're able to give them and capture as information for your own, your own benefits as an ecosystem for yourself and your own customers. Now, I mentioned region, capital R, just to signify the difference. So what is an AWS region, right? There's a difference between what AWS does and what other cloud providers do. From AWS, a region, okay, capital R, it's a physical location in the world that has multiple availability zones. That, of course, begs the question, what's an availability zone in this case? Well, it's a number of discrete data centers, okay, each with their own redundant power, networking, connectivity, separate facilities. And in fact, when they come to planning them out, they're placed in different flood zones. There's a lot of effort, like from an engineering perspective, that's gone in to design the locations of these availability zones. And this is really what defines a difference between an AWS region and other regions from other cloud providers. An AWS region will not be without this fully interconnected, as the diagram shows, grouping of at least 3 availability zones and above, and across any region. Other cloud providers, they've referred to as one data center as a region, not so much from AWS. So I've talked enough about hybrid, AWS. Let's talk about hybrid clouds. Let's get to the meat of the discussion. What do customers want in a hybrid cloud? Capturing a lot of information from the field. Again, AWS is a global organization, so we're doing this on a global scale. One, it's being able to run workloads on premises, running workloads on the clouds, of course. That's the point behind hybrid, being able to do both. But it's also necessary to have this tight integration and control, in a sense, from both aspects of it. And finally, it's, without having to buy new hardware. In fact, the less I have to pay, probably the better. That is something that everybody enjoys and is willing to stand behind. And it's also worthwhile to take a look at the hybrid cloud use cases. Okay, I mean, I unfortunately, because of time, I will not be able to go through everything on the list. But having a very quick brief of integrated identity and access, that's understandable. Certain single source of control for who's allowed to touch and use the resources that are available to me, either from local or remote. And speaking of resources, it's understandable, of course, that hybrid clouds are talking about resource consumption from the cloud, whether that's storage, networking, compute. It's not just simply one aspect and then you're tied down to that one. Integrated networks, because it should be seamless as much as possible. Data integration, cloud bursting, which is a scenario that we want, and of course, data center extensions. Now, we touched on some of the use cases. Now let's talk about some of the actual services and the tools available in your AWS toolbox that would then facilitate and make this a reality. These are some of the common tools here, and these are some of the partners that we've actually have a very strong integration on many pieces everywhere. SAP is very popular. Microsoft is available everywhere, especially when it comes to Active Directory. Intel, because a lot of the workloads that we're designing right now run on Intel-based processors, and VMware is also very endemic to the region when it comes to your own data centers for a virtualization perspective. We integrate with those. Now, from our side, from AWS, we're providing you with everything from how to connect using technologies such as Direct Connect, storage gateway, a manner by which you're able to integrate your data from on-premises to off-premises, systems manager, and OpsWorks, which are allowing you to actually have full control and a single pane of glass control from both what's on-premises and what's available for you right there on the cloud. Now, like any building, I'm an engineer, so let's start from the foundation, start from the bottom up, building this thing here, and we're looking to integrate identity and access and integrated networking. Active Directory, fairly popular. It's a phenomenal tool. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have this in multiple ways, right? One is by actually running your standard on-premises Active Directory as it is today on your Windows server in your data center. And you're just simply managing that, and you're doing this, and this becomes your single source of truth for all, IAM, integrated access management here. The other one is to actually have option number 2 is to have an EC2 instance, for want of a better terminology, like a VM is essentially in the cloud that actually is running your own Active Directory up there, and that becomes your single source of truth, and you're connecting your local on-premises solutions to that one, and using that one for what's it called? Directory management. The other one is to actually have VPC endpoint, and you're actually delegating all this onto AWS. And from there, you're taking on the AWS Directory Service Management for Microsoft Active Directory, which is AWS managed. It's the same one. It's just managed from by AWS, which means it's taking away all the headache of having to size it and make sure that it's patched and all that. You have a world of options is what we're trying to say. And connectivity options, of course, you can use the standard public internet and all the usual suspects that you want are there, public IPs, elastic IPs, which is very, very similar to floating IPs. Not the same, but it's very similar. And you're only charged for data out pricing, and we're nothing ingressing. VPN, of course, the theme of this morning was to talk about security, and I learned quite a bit. But VPN, of course, is something we would require, we would want whenever we want something to have a secure tunnel. On top of that, there's something called Direct Connect. This is something I'm personally working on in the entire region, where you actually, a Direct Connect is an actual physical connection, a point-to-point connection from A to B, A being your on-premises and B to being the AWS cloud. And that comes in many, many flavors, 1, 10 gig, or even sub 1 gig connections. Data integration. So one popular one that's actually very well understood is a cold standby. Okay, you're right. You're still running pretty much everything that you want on premises, but with a cold standby, just in case scenarios where you have all your data, the core of your business that actually defines everything. Your data is actually on the cloud, being safeguarded on there. Now you're taking it up again through Direct Connect or through internet or VPN or what have you, or even through a private link in many cases. But you're taking care of that all the way atop there. And this also includes your Amazon machine images, so you're always ready on the drop of a hat to fly. But that was a cold standby. If we take a look at the hot standby on the other hand, now this is a bit more interesting. This is for those really fast response times. You are running your current application stack on premises, but you have a similar stack that's actually running on AWS. You also have something that's referred to as an elastic load balancer. And that from there permits you to scale automatically when workload pressure comes in and it doesn't subside just yet. With Route 53, which is pretty much just a DNS in the sky, it's from there you're defining the routing and how, depending on workload pressure that comes in from on-premises, you can actually shift it onto AWS and so on. an important aspect behind all this here are the tie-ins that are happening between your application servers, both on premises and on the cloud, to speaking to corresponding databases, whether on premises or on AWS. And the mirroring and replication that has to be maintained between the primary database here and the secondary databases, plural, on AWS. If at anything shuts down, you're perfectly fine. This is continuously moving. Now, we spoke about VMware, and VMware is very, very popular in the region. I live in Dubai myself, and I can tell you this is it's very frequent that I come across this. With VMware, we can use SRM, which is Site Recovery Manager. They can actually move your VM estate from your current on-premises onto AWS more or less with the click of a button. Okay, and you no longer need a DR data center essentially that's dedicated for this. You can actually use the deep integration with VMware Cloud onto AWS services, as I mentioned. So that's also another feature for you to be able to use hybrid cloud and potentially use that as disaster recovery. Integrated resources and deployment management. Now we're getting to some more interesting stuff. We're moving up away from the infrastructure piece. EC2 Systems Manager. This is Systems Manager service, to be honest. It does a lot of wonderful good for you, especially when you're trying to take care of managing a large estate, both on premises and on AWS, because this is what exactly it can do, both on both sides of the fence that let's refer to in this manner. You can run any kind of shell script, PowerShell script, run patches, upgrades, and you can even do your own decided groupings of your servers. You can take care of them in an automated manner without having to be worried about it. You can set things up ahead about a month in advance, and off it goes. It's out to the races. DevOps. Okay, that's another piece that's actually really interesting because you can build your entire application landscape on AWS and then deploy it on premises if required. That's quite possible. What's really cool about code deploy, which is the last one of the chain, because we start off from code commit, code build, and any kind of third-party tooling. By the way, it's like Lego. You can decide and build whatever piece that you want in there. By the time you get to code deploy and you're deploying things into a production environment, you get to choose whether you want this on premises, onto your service right there, onto EC2, or even EKS or ECS, which are Kubernetes and Elastic Container Service. And I'll be talking about those specifically in a minute because they're very, very cool. The thing is, you have a world of choice available at your fingertips in deciding where you want to end this up here. And in fact, at a flip of a button, or flip of a switch, I should say, or press of a button, you can actually decide to switch from on-premises onto EC2 or the other way around. Now, this opens up the discussion, of course, from microservices, something close and very dear to my own personal heart. Okay, and microservices also opens up the doorway for Kubernetes and ECS. So Kubernetes, everybody should know, right? It's this open source. It's a container orchestration tool. And it's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's wonderful at automating deployments and scaling, and it's managed for all those containerized applications. Microservices in and of itself is a software architectural pattern in and of itself, but AWS provides you a plethora of tools to help make that a reality and very much worthwhile. And you can use this, as we said, either on AWS with EKS and ECS, and then you can probably shift it even further on down to whatever you have on premises. In fact, this has become such a prevalent thing that we've recently announced something called ECS Anywhere. Okay, ECS, the Elastic Container Service, it's similar in idea to what EKS is providing. However, there's an incredibly tight integration between it and whatever containers that you're running on there with the other AWS services that are available for you. Now, there's also EKS Anywhere, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service. Elastic Kubernetes Service for AWS running on premises here. And you can do this either anywhere on your current on-premises hardware solutions or EKS on EC2 or even managed EKS for you, and all run from the centralized EKS dashboard, AWS Management Console up in AWS. Again, deploying things with applications with Amazon EKS Anywhere, pretty much self-standard. You know, once this is up and running, it's running on EKS distro specific to it. You can run this on your own bare metal on your virtual machines on premises or EC2. Again, I can't stress this enough. And then you can run your own Kubernetes application containers, and you can take a look at the dashboard to see what's actually happening for you from the AWS Management Console. EKS has some very cool use cases as a result, being able to run anywhere here. A very important one that we're seeing right now, which is training ML models, machine learning models, and you can run them anywhere. It is worthwhile mentioning that nobody runs machine learning as much as AWS. AWS is the proud host of the most machine learning on the cloud, flat out. You can also do a lot of workload migration onto AWS. You can use it to kick the tires and even start scaling your own workloads on premises. Start working on your own application modernization activities. Data sovereignty is something that we do see in various countries. So this can actually help with that. And then from there, you can also burst onto AWS because of that tight integration that's available for you from as a hybrid technology from AWS for both on-premises and on the AWS cloud. It's fully supported by AWS. It's worthwhile mentioning that this is expected to become generally available sometime during the summer of this year, because this was only a recent announcement. But it is fully supported, so you have 24/7 support engineers working alongside you alongside your own infrastructure to keep your systems up and running. You can work on well-architected reviews. I run the well-architected reviews in the MENA region. And we actually make sure that these reviews are following, your architectures are following AWS best practices to build. And you also have EKS subject matter experts available at your beck and call with your technical account managers. In summary, and I'm sorry, this was an actual whirlwind of a presentation. I haven't even scratched the surface. AWS provides you the broadest and deepest set of services available for you, both on premises and on the cloud. It provides you some of the best solutions for VMware workloads. In fact, it says the best solution for VMware workloads. The same infrastructure and services are available for you on premises and AWS, and that includes a lot of gateways. And from there, it opens up the world to something like S3, which is providing you 11 nines of durability of storage for your objects on the cloud. It has a larger, more reliable global footprint. It offers encryption across 5 times as many services and more services, and offering the best hybrid solutions for your disconnected environments. I'll open it up for Q&A because I know we only have a few minutes for Q&A. And I'm sorry again, I rushed it, but I was limited for time. So Shalini, because I can't really see the chat from where I am, I'll ask you very kindly to let me know if there are questions coming in.
Surely, I'll definitely keep you posted, Stephen, if you have any questions coming in from our participants. As of now, I don't see any questions coming your way. However, if that happens, I'll keep you posted via email. Will that
Yes,
work?
that works perfectly fine. So thank you, everyone. I thank all of your attendees. Again, my apologies for running a blitz of a presentation here. But I do have a call to action for everyone here is please do reach out to your nearest AWS representative. And if you're in doubt, you can actually, there's my email right there on the screen. I will be providing my slide deck for your own presentation review later on. Thank you very much. And I leave you in the capable hands of the next presenter.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Stephen.